Call to order the Board of Library Trustees special meeting for Wednesday, May 25th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Trustee Gala is absent. Trustee Meadow here. Trustee Rule is absent. Trustee Smart here. Trustee Samari here. Trustee Suffett
Here.
President Zick.
Here. Before we get started, well, you guys can join in with me. I'd like to, the tragic events that happened yesterday again in our country in Uvalde, Texas. It won't help obviously the parents who lost kids and the kids come back, but if we could just take just a few moments of silence, just kind of move on. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right. We are going to get on with this meeting, and we are going to start with public comments. And I've got a number of people here who have signed up. They'd like to speak. So what I'd like to ask you to do, if you can, I'll call your name. You don't necessarily have to say your name unless you're going to come up. But if you can come up here, we do stream this. If you can come up closer here so we can hear you to the camera or whatever you want to call it, I would appreciate it. If we can keep the comments to 3 minutes, that would be great. And obviously, as always, we like to keep it as civil as we possibly can. So thank you very much. So let's get started here. Let's go with Mary Kay Baldino.
Hi. Open up.
That's great.
Okay, perfect. So hi, I'm Mary Kay Baldino. I use the pronouns she, her, and hers. I'm a cishet straight woman, been married to the same guy for almost 30 years, but I'm also an ally. And I can't believe that we're starting to talk about this issue again in a country where LGBTQIA people are at risk. We're on track in this country to have a record number of bills proposed that target specifically LGBTQ community. Hundreds of bills in over 40 states right now. Imagine that that's directed at you. I know some of the people in this room don't have to imagine that it's directed at them, but some of you may have to. When I heard about the decision at your last board meeting, I celebrated, I laughed, and I cried a little bit, and I hugged all of my LGBTQ family and friends, and it meant something. And tonight means something. Your decisions matter in a meaningful way to this part of your own community, and we see you and we see your decisions, and we want to know that you're paying attention. In matters of policy, it matters who you stand with, and if you are standing with people who are targeted and people who are oppressed, or if you're standing with the comfortable and the silent, don't tell people you care about them in this community and then vote for policies that don't support them. Please see us and please stand with us. Thank you.
Go next to Amy Svoboda. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Or close?
Yeah, close enough.
Hi, I thought we'd hear what you said first and I would respond to it, but I do want to speak. I do have two family members who are young and out. One is a teenager, one is in her early 20s, and I want to advocate for them. I want to advocate for people in support of people instead of against something theoretical. And I think we all know enough now that LGBTQ is not harmful. And we hear people using the word grooming now. That breaks my heart. I'm a trauma survivor. I know exactly what grooming is. Someone being out and gay is not grooming. It's not indoctrination, okay? And I think flying a flag here during Gay Pride Month is important. It's extremely important because, you know, just you talked about the moment of silence for what happened in Texas. The #1 cause of death for teens, for children, is from guns. And way too many of that is suicide. So we have a chance in our community to save lives. And if that gay pride flag saves one life, it's worth it. I say we be that type of community.
Move on to Kathleen Gabriel.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kathleen Gabriel, and I live at 115 North Pine. And I am a very happy neighbor for the makerspace. And I have to tell you that I've lived in my house for over 30 years. Having this building and this opportunity in my backyard has been phenomenal. It is so wonderful for our community to have this. I grew up in Arlington Heights, and that particular location is where I first learned to read. So that was the first library that I had ever went to. So it definitely has personal significance for me. So I applaud you guys for giving our community that. With that in mind, knowing that a maker's place is offering opportunities for individuals, I also want to emphasize that Arlington Heights is known as being the city of good neighbors. And the city of good neighbors includes our compromised, it includes our LGBTQ group, are disenfranchised. And I would just encourage you to continue with the good works that you've done in inclusion, in equity, and fly the flag. This is a group of marginalized individuals that need our support. And let's show them in a symbolic way that flag is a tangible representation that Arlington Heights means what they say. We are a city of good neighbors. Thank you.
Let's go on to Grace Baldino.
Hi, I'm Grace Baldino. My mom spoke earlier, and I will be echoing some of what she said. I am a non-binary pansexual. I've been out for about 8 years now, and it has definitely been a struggle, but the support that I've gotten from not only the LGBTQ community, but my community here has meant a lot. I would briefly like to mention the significance that the Pride flag holds, not just for me, but for everyone in my community. It was originally commissioned by Harvey Milk, the first openly gay man to serve on a board in San Francisco. In an article written by Julia Thornton for the Time magazine, she writes, he asked Gilbert Baker to create a pride flag in 1978, and the rainbow symbol seemed like an obvious choice to him. Quote, we needed something that expressed us. The rainbow really fits that in terms of we're all colors and all the genders and all the races. Baker said in the Time article, it is a natural flag. The rainbow is in the sky and it is beautiful. It is a magical part of nature. Pride for me and for my community is a time to celebrate that beauty and diversity. And I would like to reiterate my support for the raising of the pride flag next month for June.
Next, and Robert.
Good evening. 17 years ago, when my husband and I moved back to the Chicago area from Missouri, our daughters were grown and we could have moved anywhere. We decided to return to Arlington Heights, not only because the town was being revamped and offering more stores and restaurants, the train station could take us down to Chicago without fighting traffic. The school system remained strong, but it was home to one of the top libraries, not only in this state, but anywhere in the United States. And that was a real drawing card for us. We are usually here in the library twice a week, and we can walk here. Having lived in Missouri for 10 years and Baltimore for 1 year, I often wished that they could see what a real community library offered. We used the introduction to the opera classes, computer classes, Sunday afternoon musicals, and the wonderful reading programs for students of all ages. Peepers the Iguana will always be a fond memory for everyone in our family. A few weeks ago, our 3.5-year-old granddaughter from Baltimore visited Mother's Day weekend. We had planned to go downtown on the train, but seeing that it was raining now and all day wasn't a good idea. What to do? We took her to our library. She was mesmerized by the fish tank, maneuvered every learning installation that moved, enjoyed going through the picture book aisles, but spent most of her time among other children about her age, sharing games, toys, and each other. I was delighted how the situation allowed English speakers to interact with English learners. It was a warm, non-threatening environment for everyone. As a former teacher, I couldn't have asked for a more positive learning experience for any child. I thank two librarians for providing such a superb situation for our children. This was an admirable reflection of our town, one that says we really are a city of good neighbors. I would also like to thank the board for adopting an inclusive flag policy that reflects the mission of our library and our community.
We have Doug Weber.
Good evening. I first of all would like to thank the trustees. I think this is a volunteer job. You don't get compensated, and everybody looks after the best interests of the library, regardless of your political affiliations. So we thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come here for the best interests of Arlington Heights residents. You guys decided to make a decision to put the LBGP rainbow flag in front of the village or in front of the library. That's your decision. Democracy rules. Fine. What I strongly encourage you consider is other causes that also would like to have that flag. And there are hundreds of them. And I think tonight that's what you're voting for, is the policy and the procedures for other groups that also have an interest or a special interest to have their cause displayed. You guys have elected to make this a public forum. Fine. How about pro-life? You know, DEI, Ms. Smart, you mentioned that. That's very important. How about the unborn? Don't they have a say? Wouldn't they deserve to have a flag in front there? Planned Parenthood? You know, I've had some conversations with Native Americans. They're currently, the Potawatomi tribe is negotiating with the state of Illinois, our current state representative. They had land absconded I think that's America's original sin, isn't it? Taking land from Native Americans. Well, they got a flag, and I talked to the chairman. He goes, Mr. Weber, pursue it. I would love to have a flag flown in front of your library for our cause. No different than the LGBTQ community, right? So whatever you decide tonight, and I think that's what you're looking to decide, is what is the policy to get other flags flown in front of this wonderful library? Thank you guys for your efforts. I think you've done a great job. It's a wonderful library, irregardless of political views, but I think you've overstepped it a little bit here, and I just need to be fair for everybody else. My last comment is we're all getting these postcards here. Probably the biggest, the saddest thing in the democracy that we have is nobody votes in the primary. You know, I looked at the elections and you guys run and nobody votes. It's like less than 5%. That's sad. But maybe politically people start getting more active and you made a political decision. I know the LGBT community is very happy. I'm kind of an outcast, but I support it. You guys voted for it, but leave it for other people to also have flags they'd like to fly here. Thank you.
Next we have Allison Anderson.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Allison, and I'm a volunteer here at the library. I spend a lot of time here, and I see a great variety of people come through the library of all races, genders, orientations, and so on. And I feel like our library is the heart and soul of our village, and it really reflects the values of our diverse community. For me, the pride flag represents pride for all people. It's not just a gay flag to me. I'm a straight woman. My husband would be really upset. I'm a straight woman, and you'd say maybe, what do you care about whether there's a pride flag flown or not? It matters a lot to me because I have a lot of gay and lesbian friends, relatives, neighbors. I feel like they're also, they pay taxes, they participate in our village, and to be relegated to like second-class citizenship in a way by not reflecting and supporting, people who are marginalized in the community, to me, that's a problem. I mean, I recently went to the Holocaust Museum to see the Rise Up exhibit, and I didn't realize that, there's so many rights that a person takes for granted. The right to go to a hospital bedside and be with the person you love when they're sick. That didn't happen before, before there were more rights granted, to LGBTQ folks. So I'm asking to support the pride flag being flown, whether it's for a week, whether it's for a month. I appreciate that you went through the effort of, examining different things for a policy. And I like the fact that you will consider various things like, is that flag flown in other government institutions? Is that flag reflective of the library's values and missions? And also the fact that you said it will not be necessarily a public forum where anyone could fly any flag up here, that it would be specifically for what the library wants to fly. So I think that, will keep frivolous requests for flags from being brought before the library. Anyway, thank you for your time.
We have Heidi Rooney.
You. I'm here to speak about the agenda item about displaying flags of different kinds in our library. I love books. I love all kinds of books. I look at the flag displays as akin to book displays. We have books right outside these doors that represent all ways of living and being. Shouldn't we display representative flags in the same way? Can we work together in a way to have a representative sample without being overwhelming?
That is all I have written down. Is there anybody else that wants to say anything? Yes, please come up and say your name.
I didn't sign a sheet. I don't know what happened.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jean Wood.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed you, Jean. I apologize, wasn't intentional.
That's all right. I'm a resident of Arlington Heights, have been for about 7 years, and I love this place and I love this library. Thank you very much for keeping it up to date and current with current issues. I realize that you're going to be discussing a policy about what flags to fly in front of the library. Is that correct? And so it could mean the pride flag or it could mean other flags, as the gentleman said before. I went to my 5th high school reunion in New York State. And then that was 1963. That's how old I am. And I saw the people who had died. And I saw Carl. I won't tell you his last name. And I said, what happened to Carl? He was gay and committed suicide. Now I realize that was 1963. So we hopefully have come a long way since then. But I have a niece who's in her mid-20s. She was hired by this, entry-level work to work in a consignment shop. This was North Carolina. Now I admit that's not Illinois. But she was fired because she's gay. And she tried to cut herself and had to be admitted to a hospital. So it's still present, even from 1963 till now, that though these are issues, and we want everybody in our community to feel a part of our community and that we love them and we're willing to accept them. So there are 2 flags that I am concerned about right now. One is the pride flag for the month of June. And the other is the Juneteenth flag, which is for June 19. But this year, because June 19 is on a Sunday, it'll be observed on June 19 and June 20. Now, both of these flags fly over our state capitol. So I think when you're considering what kinds of flags you want to fly, you might want to think about anything that flies over our state capitol, we ought to allow to fly here. I'm originally from Buffalo, spent most of my adult life there. So that horrific shooting that happened, I worked with Habitat for Humanity, downtown Buffalo, right where Jefferson Avenue is. My heart is broken for those people. So we need to have the Juneteenth flag fly. We need to have the pride flag fly because there is discrimination against those 2 groups of people. And I hope you would consider that request. Thank you.
Okay, check this over again. I don't think I missed anybody. Is there anybody else that would like to say something? Yeah. Okay. All right, thank you very much. All right, we are going to go on now to action item 1, revisions policy 7.007, Arlington Heights Public Library Flag Policy. Okay. Quick thing I just want to say, as you're aware, last Tuesday, May 17th, the board passed a policy authorizing flying of flags other than the governmental flags. And I really should put my glasses on. What I do want to say, it has come to my attention through phone calls and emails that a rumor has been circling that we are going to be working on rescinding that policy tonight. What I can tell you is that we walked in with a flag policy and we will walk out with a flag policy. So what are we here for tonight? Tonight is about making sure that this policy is implemented correctly and safely. Policy that we voted on and heard for the first time that night did not have any mechanism to determine what those future flags are, so the executive director can implement. Tonight is about setting up those mechanisms. Also, the vote last Tuesday was for the flag policy. Since there was no mechanism agreed upon in the policy, there was no approval of any flag, as has been reported. The second action tonight is to implement the mechanism from the first action to alter that. These shortcomings became apparent shortly after last Tuesday's meeting. While they could have been left for the upcoming June 6th meeting that we have, I knew that this would not be good for our library or for our community. Once this was apparent that these 2 situations exist, I sent an email to the Board of Trustees and Executive Director Mike Driscoll on Friday, May 20th, detailing the situation and the actions I felt were necessary to update the policy, and that we would be scheduling a special meeting to discuss and correct those particular shortcomings. I'm not sure how that rumor started, and I am concerned about that, but please know that this meeting and discussion tonight is about taking the policy that we have approved and is on our books and making sure that it is workable for not just now, but also for the future. Okay, so thank you very much for that. What I'm going to do now is actually, what I'd like to do is take a step back a little bit. Just so everybody knows, the gentleman sitting here, this is Roger Ritzman, the attorney for the library. Wanted to make sure that he was here as we're going through these mechanics to make sure that if there's any legal issues that we need to work through, we've got the proper representation here. Roger, if you could, here at the beginning, could you give us just kind of a quick overview of the difference between government, and I'm probably going to say this wrong, corrected me before, between government speech and public forum?
Sure. Good evening, I'm Roger Ritzman, I'm general counsel for the library. Let me just make a brief comment on the First Amendment issues that are relevant to the flag policy. As you might expect, that over the years, there have been hundreds of cases interpreting construing the intent of the constitutional founders. What does the First Amendment mean? And a couple of things have emerged from those hundreds of cases through the years. And the two doctrines that are relevant to the use of the library's flagpole are the public forum doctrine and the government speech doctrine. That's really what we're all about here with this policy. Public forum doctrine basically stands for the proposition that if you intend to create a public forum where it's basically come one, come all, and if you've created that public forum, then you are inviting public to participate, whatever their message is. And having created a public forum, then you are not permitted to discriminate based upon the viewpoint of that group. Okay? The other doctrine that's relevant to this issue is a doctrine called government speech. And basically, that doctrine says that when a unit of government, like the library trustees, when a unit of government wishes to express its support for a movement, a cause, whatever, the government has very broad discretion to decide what movements, what causes are consistent with the library's mission. In other words, the courts afford the discretion to the units of government. Now, the units of government I'm talking about, they could be the school board, could be the village council, could be the park district, could be the library board. There's, all these units of local government under the government speech doctrine are afforded broad discretion to speak as they wish. And in this case, the proposed policy that's up for consideration differentiates those two. The board, under the proposed policy, is not intending to create a public forum. They're intending to make it crystal clear that whatever decisions that are made with respect to flying flags represents the judgment and the discretion of the public officials, the library trustees, as to causes that are consistent with the library's mission. So that's in a nutshell what we're talking about. Government speech gives local officials, public officials discretion to decide, and public forum is one, come all. And just by way of example, and I don't want to belabor the point, but there's a case out of the United States Supreme Court that's literally hot off the press involving the city of Boston. And what happened in that case, the city of Boston had a public forum. And for years, anybody got to fly the flag. And then they decided that there was one flag. So for the first time, hundreds of flags, they said that they felt that there was a problem with a flag that had I think it had a cross on it. They said, well, wait a second. Now, if we let that flag fly, aren't we violating the establishment clause, which is state and religion and so forth. So that case went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said that Boston, because they had not exercised any government speech during any of these applications, that the city of Boston had created a public forum and therefore they had to let, you know, as I say, come one, come all. So anyway, that's what we're talking about here tonight.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Okay, so what the trustees, and us now. What you have in front of you is the culmination of a lot of work, and obviously you guys have seen a lot of emails from myself going back and forth with some information. You've got a packet here of different concepts. You do have the policy that we approved last Tuesday, so you do have that in front of you. What you also have in front of you is I guess you want to call it a draft, which is really putting into this a lot of the mechanisms that we talked about, and also a lot of the government speech, excuse me, areas that Roger was talking about here. What we can do is, all of you have had it. Hopefully, everybody's had a chance to talk about it, or excuse me, to read it and to use what's in here. The idea behind this is that we are signifying where these are coming from. It can come from a board member, okay? What flags they want to have, but what we're trying to do, and I thank Trustee Suplet for his work on this. There are such other official communications such as National Heritage Month or National Awareness Month that are brought up, and we can put those into the policy as part of the mechanism that we choose to be able to fly the flag on our pole out here. So that's enough of me talking. You've been hearing enough from me for right now, and I'd like to open it up to the trustees for any comments or thoughts.
I'd like to make a motion. This is to amend the current policy 7.007. The Board of the Library Trustees adopts this policy 7.007 as the flag policy of the Arlington Heights Memorial Library. The library has two flagpoles, a flagpole located at the front of the library's property at 500 North Duncan Avenue, and another at 112 North Belmont, the Maker's Place. I'm going to divide this into three sections for purposes of discussion. The first section is generally flags on library flagpoles are one or more of the following: the United States flag, the state of Illinois flag, the Village of Arlington Heights flag, and the National League of Families POW MIA flag. The library will follow provisions governing the display of flags around the United States Code, Title IV, Chapter 1, and the Illinois Flag Display Act 5 ILCS 465. Section 2 for purposes of discussion. Other flags. From time to time, the board may approve flying other flags as an expression of either the library's official sentiments or the library's mission, vision, and values, a copy of which will be attached, and serve as a government forum for expression of the library's mission, vision, values, or other sentiments, government speech, as was recognized by the United States Supreme Court in its decision in Shurtleff et al. Versus City of Boston. The library does not fly flags at the request of the public, any organization, or any individual, and use of a library flagpole is not intended to serve as or create a forum for free expression by the public. And then this would be the third section. When approving flags to be flown on library flagpoles, the board will consider the following: whether the United States or the state of Illinois has recognized the flag or caused through statute or proclamation or other official communication, for example, National Heritage Months or National Awareness Months. Second, whether the flag represents a national, state, or local interest and is consistent with the library's mission, vision, values, or official sentiments. And three, whether the flag represents a positive interest or value worthy of public recognition and is consistent with the library's mission, vision, values, or official sentiments. The board will express its approval of flags on library flagpoles either by a written resolution or by majority vote of the library trustees, which majority vote will be documented in the minutes of a board meeting.
That was a motion.
I second the motion.
Okay, second motion. What I will say though is that, and Mike, I need your thoughts on this, is what you read was the draft that we have here. It wasn't the draft that was in here. Was this the draft?
The draft that are tabled.
It's a draft of the table. Mike, was this the?
I think there's a slight change in
This is not, that's what was read is not what I have from our table.
Is this the one that we intended?
no, that is not the one that was across the draft. It's very similar, but there are just some minor changes that John had suggested in the emails.
Okay, because this, I believe, was the draft from what I believe you had sent over.
Yeah. Two things. It was the draft on the table that I had that was flipped to the flag policy. Secondly, the changes that I made are grammatical. Just streamlining the sentences and removing a couple of redundant phrases, but otherwise it's the same expression.
Well, one thing that's different here is in the version that you read, it said any flags approved by the board shall represent an expression of either. That has been struck out in here, but in the one that we have here, it says any flags approved by the board shall represent an expression of the library's official sentiments or the library's mission, vision, and values. No, that wasn't struck in the copy that we have here. See, there's some confusion. This was this was the one, this was being brought to the table of John's thing. So we had the raw thing that he had. The one that's actually in the packet is the one for consideration tonight. That may be,
You mean the packet that was dropped off to us?
yes.
So, but when did you send it, 2 o'clock today? You sent this at 2 o'clock today.
I sent this one saying that this was the draft that John had put in there. As I put in the earlier one, I wanted you to have all the raw information of what we had.
I'm seeing your point. And I don't see it as being an issue. And I'm glad to make the correction if you'll be allowed that.
Let's do something here. I'm fine with doing that, but what I think we should do is put in this other motion. Let's approve let's approve this, the separate motion. Actually, I think we need to strike out we haven't done this before, so I apologize. I believe we need to actually strike out the original motion and then add back in this particular motion.
Okay,
So
I'll withdraw my motion. And
I'm second to withdraw.
And what I'll move is that we withdraw the original policy as passed earlier this week. And that's, well, really, that's it, to just eliminate the original policy.
we're going to eliminate what we just read in, and then we can go. I don't think we need to read it in again because we do all have it here.
I'm a little confused. I would like to read again.
Yeah, I'll read it again.
We have a
Okay,
lot of
that's fine.
different
Okay,
versions.
so let's take it at this particular point. We have a second motion on that one. Let's vote on that. Just make sure we're gonna remove that one. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed, nay. Okay, so we got that going. Okay, let's make another motion.
Okay, so my motion for this evening is a use of, policy 7.007, use of flags on library property. And it reads as follows. The Board of Library Trustees adopts this policy 7.007 as the flag policy of the Arlington Heights Memorial Library. The library has 2 flag poles. That is a flag pole located in front of the library's property at 500 North Dutton Avenue and another at 112 North Belmont, the Maker Place. This is the first section. Generally, flags on the library flagpoles are one of the more of the following: the United States flag, the State of Illinois flag, the Village of Arlington Heights flag, or the National League of Families POW MIA flag. The library will follow provisions governing the display of the flags found in the United States Code Title 4, Chapter 1, and the Illinois Flag Display Act 5 ILCS 465. This is the second section. Other flags. From time to time, the board may approve flying other flags. Any flags approved by the board shall represent an expression of the library's official sentiments for the library's mission, vision, and values. Flags flown on the library's flagpoles will be approved by the board and serve as a government forum for expression of the library's mission, vision, values, or official sentiments, government speech, as was recognized by the United States Supreme Court in its decision in Shurtleff et al. Versus the City of Boston. The library does not fly flags at the request of the public, any organization, or any individual, and use of a library flagpole is not intended to serve as or create a forum for free expression by the public. And then this would be the third section. When approving flags to be flown on library flagpoles, the board will consider the following. Whether the United States or the state of Illinois has recognized the flag or caused through a statute or proclamation or other official communication. For example, National Heritage Months or National Awareness Month. 2, whether the flag represents a national, state, or local interest and is consistent with the library's mission, vision, values, or official sentiments. 3, whether the flag represents a positive interest or value worthy of public recognition and is consistent with the library's mission, vision, values, or official sentiments. The board will express its approval of flags on library flagpoles either by a written resolution or by majority vote of the Board of Library Trustees, which majority vote will be documented in the minutes of a board meeting.
I second.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, that was a little sloppy there. I will put that on myself, a little sloppy, but we're good. So here's, what I want to make sure, before we go to vote, first I want to hear any comments and questions that you may have. Is everybody clear on what the mechanism is that we're voting on here? We're going to take certain proclamations that have been made to the U.S. or the state of Illinois, and those will become items that we can consider here at the board level. They can be brought to the board. This is as I'm understanding it. Brought it to the board to be able to for us to consider at this level. And then whether the flag represents a national state interest consistent with the library's mission. That is part of what we're going to be thinking about as we're deciding which one of those we want to put up. We want to put up. Okay. Then whether the flag represents a positive interest or value worthy of public recognition is consistent with the library's mission, vision, values, and official sentiments. Again, this is what we're talking about. So the real mechanism is that we're going to be looking at a board member to bring potential flag for us to raise. And it will come from one of these statutes that are put out there or one of these proclamations that are put out there by the U.S. government or the state of Illinois. Is that how everybody in the board is seeing it?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. So what we will do is before those meetings, since this is going to be, I'm sure we'll tighten this up as we move along here. What's going to happen, in my view, is that the trustee will come to me, or I suppose I can bring it up too. Let me know before that board meeting that you've got a potential flag that you want us to consider. It's coming from one of these avenues. We will put it on the agenda as an action item for us to consider during that next meeting where we can vote. Does that make sense? Anybody have any thoughts or any questions on that?
So board members bring this forward, not staff members.
This is a board member. This is a board member.
And clearly staff is implementing this, so they need time. Is there a time frame that would be appropriate?
maybe that's a question for you, Mike. I
Yeah.
mean, I think we can do it for June, but what I'm saying, just in general, I know, you need to buy flags, you need to, I don't know what else you need, but.
I really think it all depends on the flag and
Okay.
its availability and working into the schedule. If we have a conflict of 2 flags at the same time, with it might be worked out at the board level.
Right.
Discussion. My only concern is just making sure we can get the flag.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's really up to us. We have to, if there's something you really want, it's coming up or proclamation, we just have to get it sooner than later. It's kind of this.
Thank you, President Craig. Just another consideration is rather than do it on a monthly basis, we could manage it the same way that we do the holiday schedule for the library. And that is review a calendar in advance that identifies proposals for flags to be flown during various months of the year. And I think in that respect, we can accomplish the same thing in a more efficient way without adding to the agenda of our busy meetings on a monthly basis. But again, we're talking about a process that's in the future. I think that that's another alternative to doing. Presenting a calendar of flags spread out across the month for consideration and by the board.
That makes a lot of sense. We have to consider, especially next year. Roger, quick question, sir. Something that Trustee Samari said. That she asked a question about whether or not staff could bring it or it has to come from the board. Am I correct in assuming that in order for this to stay within the bounds of government speech, it has to come from one of the board members?
Well, the approval process requires the approval of the board and, whether the concept or the proposal, how that gets there, whether somebody in the community approaches a trustee and said, I'd like you to consider this flag. But the actual approval process is solely within the purview of the board. So we have to do it either by, written resolution or by majority vote. So how the subject matter surfaces is really not that significant, but ultimately, somebody on the board is going to have to be a proponent of that and you can decide.
So what that means is that if Mike or any of the staff have something that they want to bring up, they can't bring it up to us as a suggestion during the board meeting. They can bring it up to one of us 7, and we can put it into a motion.
Yes.
That's how to keep under government speech. That's where we need to be.
That's right.
Okay.
Or they could do it during public
Or
forum.
the public, the public comment, yeah.
I'm sure I'll get that part.
Well, I mean, if somebody, maybe someone is not comfortable contacting a trustee and say, I'd like you to consider such and such flag, and we hear about it for the first time at public comment, well, then we can take it under advisement, and at some point in the future, that if a trustee feels that is a worthy cause, then there would be a motion for approval.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't a situation where somebody comes up for public comment, they say, I want to have so-and-so flag come up, and then we vote on it at that particular point. It has to be, they can bring the sentiment up to us, and then not that meeting, because we wouldn't have it in as an action item. We would have to do it for a subsequent meeting where we could bring that concept in.
Yeah, and that's really an Open Meetings Act issue. If you're surprised and hear about a cause for the first time during public comment, it's not going to be an agenda item, and so we're not going to be able to act on it anyway. So we'll have time to digest the proposal for the next meeting.
Right. Okay, just
I would like to propose a resolution to recognize LGBTQ.
We're in the motion.
yeah, we're in the middle of the motion.
We're discussing.
We're still in discussion of that motion. Just
Okay, I need clarification. So if we're making a calendar of National Heritage Month or National Awareness Month, this is what's going to be each month. Where is the openness for people to make suggestions for other flags to fly? if we've already outlined it ahead of time. My second thing is, do we know that there are flags for each of those? Do we know that there's a flag for Hispanic Heritage Month? Do we know that there's a flag for Black History Month? Do we know there's a flag for Women's History Month? What if there isn't?
Yeah, I think, I'm sorry, Justice, something you had up.
Yeah, well, I wanted to cover some of the things that Trustee Mello was mentioning, if that's okay. So yeah, you're right. If we come forward with a calendar and vote on it and accept it for the year, then it would have to be changed, and we could change that accordingly. So I don't see that as a challenge. And then whether or not these National Heritage Months have flags, well, we should include the ones on the calendars that have flags if our intent is to fly them. So that would be a decision that would be made at the time we develop the calendar. And to make an example, and to provide an example for my colleagues, when you look at National Heritage Months, which are fundamentally through presidential proclamation, National Black History Month, Women's History Month, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month, LGBTQ Pride Month, Older Americans Month, National Disability Employment Awareness Month, National Immigration Heritage Month, National Veterans and Military Families Month, National Native American Heritage Month, all have flags. Now, this is just as an example for discussion. It doesn't mean that this is the calendar from which we will move forward, but it's something from which we can work to build a calendar. So we're not revisiting this as a resolution on a monthly basis going forward. Also, for your information, National Awareness Month typically are not established by a presidential proclamation. Rather, they're established by an organization that is identified as an advocate for these issues. So issues such as National Poverty and American Awareness Month, Autism Awareness Month, or Universal Human Rights Month would be nationally recognized awareness months. But again, the origins are not presidential proclamations typically, but they are representative of national organizations who advocate on behalf of those issues. Those typically don't have flags. Doesn't mean we couldn't identify them or recognize them for their importance. But, you know, if we're looking at putting a flag on a standard, then no, those awareness months probably wouldn't fit that mold. But again, this is just for consideration. The point being is that we can build a calendar, you know, at a later date that identifies the months that we feel as government speech are expressions of the library's mission, vision, values, or other sentiments that align with our vision, mission, and values for purposes of the flagpole policy.
Didn't want to kind of echo what Trustee Supplet said there. I think, and Trustee Mel, it's a perfectly valid point. So we have to consider. We're going if we make a calendar, it doesn't mean that calendar can't be added to. It can't be edited. It can't be whatever we want to do at that particular point. We can make a motion to be able to add something in. Regarding the ones that don't have flags, I'm a little sarcastic here, but I think if we're bringing these up, I think we have to do our research. And I know this is our board, who knows what's going to happen with future boards, but we have to do it. I think we should take the common sense to do some research to understand if there actually is a flag to be flown for that particular one. Because as Trustee Supplet pointed out, there aren't flags for everything. And so we're not going to be able to do that. What I would say though, is if there is one of these heritage days that the trustee month, thank you, feels is something important that the library should be taking a look into, what we need to do then is we need to talk to Executive Director Mike Driscoll here and let him work on what type of programming we could potentially put around it. I think that would probably be the most logical step for us to take if there isn't an already established plan for that. Okay.
I would also add, you brought up a very good point, that if we are going to have these flags, we should have programming that reflects flying the flag. The flag doesn't give the information, the knowledge, the education to our community that programs do. And if we're going to put a flag up in front, we should have programs that educate our community.
Okay, very good. One other thing I thought of, in the unfortunate times such as we're going through right now, where flags need to be flown half-mast. What do we do at that point?
That's covered.
There's a policy.
Is there-
It's
was it in there?
a flag policy. I mean, the
Yeah.
Illinois
Oh.
Flag Display Act
So-
encompasses that. Yeah.
So that would mean that the special flag would be removed at that particular point?
No,
No,
it means you follow the provisions governing the display
right.
of flags.
So whatever, okay, all right, and I will admit I haven't looked up for half-mast what it means in that particular flag policy display act. Okay, if everybody's comfortable with that, that's fine. Okay, any other comments, questions, thoughts? I think we've got it. Let's do a roll call, please, Shannon.
Trustee Meadow?
Yes.
Trustee Smart? Yes. Trustee Samari? Yeah. Trustee Sucklet?
Aye.
President Sick?
Yes. Okay, we have the mechanism. Let's go on to action item, I got the wrong thing here. Let's go on to action item 2, acceptable flags to raise. We'll open it up for comments, or if there's a motion I would like to be made for a particular flag.
I make a motion that we, because the pride flag is recognized by the state of Illinois and by the federal government, I make a resolution to recognize LGBTQ Pride Month in June and fly the Pride Rainbow flag for the month of June 2022 at the Arlington Heights Memorial Library.
Second? Yes.
Could I ask that the motion be modified to also adopt resolution 22-02?
Absolutely.
Is that part of the motion?
Just read them. Yeah. Document for the,
Want me to say it again? I make a motion that the Board of Library Trustees for the Arlington Heights Memorial Library adopts Resolution 22-02 to recognize LGBTQ Pride Month and fly the rainbow flag for the month of June 2022.
I'll second.
okay, would you like me to read in the resolution?
Yeah.
Resolution to recognize LGBT. Okay, I'm gonna ask a question, please don't. Yeah. You said LGBT in the resolution. Is the proper way to do this LGBTQ plus? Q plus. Okay, recognize to recognize LGBTQ plus Pride Month and fly the rainbow flag for the month of June 2022. Whereas the month of June has been recognized as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month to recognize the contributions of LGBTQ plus persons to society and their struggle for equality and acceptance. And whereas LGBTQ plus persons will live in and contribute to the quality of life in the village of Arlington Heights. And the Board of Library Trustees, the board believes that the LGBT LGBTQ plus persons are valued members of our community and deserve equality and acceptance. And whereas the library's vision and values includes the board's belief in diversity and inclusion, i.e. we cultivate an inclusive atmosphere, celebrate our diversity, and create an environment for the open exchange of differing ideas and points of view. Now, therefore, the board declares June 2022 as LGBTQ plus Pride Month. And for the month of June 2022, the library will fly the rainbow flag on the library flag. Further, use of a library flag pole for the month of June 2022, as stated, is not intended to serve as or create a forum for free expression. To the contrary, use of a library flag pole for the month of June 2022 is stated in an expression of the board's official sentence. This resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage. Okay. I'll do a roll call that, please.
Wait. You're talking about one flagpole in this resolution. We'll fly the rainbow flag on a library, so should we fly the rainbow flag on the library flag poles? What is that the intent? Or it just intent, okay, because the resolution or the policy includes both places.
The policy does, but the resolution includes.
Oh, okay,
For the main.
I understand,
for here.
thank you.
So is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah.
As read?
Yeah.
Okay. Good question, though. Let's make sure we got our eyes across the T's. Okay, now can we do a roll call?
Trustee Meadow?
Yes.
Trustee Clark? Yes. Trustee Samari? Yes. Trustee Sutcliffe?
Yeah.
President Zimmerman?
Yes. Do we have any other flags that we would like to motion?
I would like to make a motion to fly the POW flag on Memorial Day, 2022.
Any more comments, questions on that? Okay. So no roll call, please.
Trustee Meadow?
Yes.
Trustee Smart? Yes. Trustee Samari? Yes. Trustee Sutcliffe?
Aye.
President Sick?
Yes.
And hopefully that could be flown at both locations.
Yeah, we can fly to both locations. And actually, it's in the policy as one of
Right.
the 4 accepted flags, so.
Yeah,
we'll fly
I
that.
noticed that, so that's why.
All right. The other flags. Okay, I think we are done with that portion of it. We have others. Any other that anybody would like to bring up? Vote for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, and we are done. Thank you all very much.